Victoria Film Fest, and in the next 90 minutes or so I will talk about the visual effects industry, what our role is, and how this Hollywood movie magic works. My name is Edwin Braun. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Cebas Visual Technology. I founded the company with my partner Achim Smilus back in Germany more than 20 years ago. So we are very long in the industry. There's one slide I have to show you because you will see some stuff you usually don't see anywhere else. And we are very grateful to our customers that supply this stuff, and it's very hard for us to get this footage and this information. So please refrain from recording the stuff I show you here. A little bit about us. As I already said, we created our company back in Germany in 1988. Back then, there was no visual effects industry. It didn't exist. There was no computer graphics. And I was always about computer graphics. So all I wanted to do is computer graphics. And back then I started with the Commodore Amiga computers, and then I've seen a lot of stuff, I can tell you. And I will tell you. So the big question is, what is it exactly what we do? So we're a software company, I already told you. And our software is very special. So we blow up stuff, and when we blow up stuff, we blow it up in large scale. Really large scale. So when we do explosions, destruction, we do it in really Hollywood style, and our software is able to do it. And that's a key thing you usually want in visual effects. So, let me show you a small summary of our success where our software was used. I will show you a collection of movies. It's a very short compilation of some titles, and I will go deeper into some examples. But here's a collection of Hollywood movies that use our tools, and you have to keep in mind, it's not just our tool that does it. It's a lot of companies, a lot of people work on a Hollywood movie production. And it's a lot of tools that are used. But our tool is an integral part on the destruction, so everything that breaks is done with our software. But on top of that, there's a lot of layers that is done by other departments in a movie production. So let's just have a look. So we had a few of the movie productions, and our tool is actually used in many blockbuster movies. And it is used not only in the past, it will be used in the future as well, because we constantly keep upgrading our software so that you can create special effects. Let's talk about a Hollywood movie production. As I already said, they are complex beasts. If you want to create a movie Hollywood style, it means a lot of people are involved. And it's a lot of money. Movies are not a new thing. Hollywood movies were created 1920, it started, maybe 25, whatever. It started some time ago, and back then, there were no visual effects, there were special effects. And there's a really important difference. Never tell a person who sits behind a computer, he's doing special effects. No, he's not doing special effects. He's doing visual effects. And there's a huge difference, and this difference is very important, and I'm going to show you the difference now. So in the movie Independence Day, the very first movie, 1996, we didn't have computers really. We didn't have iPhones for sure. I don't even know how we survived back then. It was impossible to survive in these days. There were no computers, you couldn't do anything. What would you do? Even if you wanted to meet up with someone, you had to use a rotary phone and even agree on a time where you meet, and the others had to be there. You couldn't say, okay, I'm late for whatever. Didn't exist. So what did they do? They created disaster movies. But how did they create disaster movies? The only way you can do it with special effects, not visual, special effects. And special effects is everything that's manually done in camera. There's in-camera special effects. So if you wanted to do an earthquake, what would you do? You would go to the camera and shake it. That's your earthquake. The problem is if people don't go along, it doesn't look like an earthquake, so you have to shake as well. So that's special effects. For Independence Day, Roland Emmerich wanted to destroy the White House. And he likes to destroy stuff. I don't know why, but it's his favorite. So he wanted to destroy the White House. So if you want to do that, you have to build it as a model. You can't build the real White House, but they started to build this model. This model they built was back then 50,000 US dollars. In real money today, you would pay for the same thing maybe 100,000, easy. If you say someone, okay, build this with all the detail, they built little glass windows, everything was built to scale. And imagine, they really had painters, they painted this thing. That was wood, foam, whatever. They had to paint it, they had to carve it. That was real hard work. Special effects was real hard work back then. And then, what they did is, when they exploded the model, they had 9 cameras. They had high-speed cameras, so they filmed it in 300 frames per second. Then they play it back normal speed, and then it looks like it's a big, huge explosion. So it's like a slow motion effect they did there. They built all this, take months of building and doing all this work, painting and nailing and whatever, and then they blow it up. And the crazy thing is, this kind of process is kind of insane. Because you build something to blow it up. And then you have to rely on these little camera things that they work. And then you have to rely on that your explosives work and everything looks cool and good and so on. So if something goes wrong, you start over this building process and you have to spend another $50,000 for a knob for this object to blow up. So and then when it's blown up, you just have rubble and a big mess. And that's one thing no one really realizes, that this process is really a terrible process to do movies. It's bad for the environment, it's unhealthy for the people involved in all these shots, and it's dangerous. Visual effects, so if you do the effect in a computer, is very green, it doesn't pollute the environment, and it's much safer. So, but back then in 1996 they had no other way to do these kind of effects. So these were special effects back then. So now you might say, okay, cool, special effects, looks cool. So what are visual effects then? Visual effects is everything that's done in a computer. And that involves all kinds of things. I will show you what is done in computer. But what does it mean? Does it mean there's no more people? No, the industry is changing from special effects to visual effects, or as I say, it already changed. So all these model builders, they have no more a job. Might sound a little bit harsh, but that's how it is. You don't build models and file wood and paint and all this craziness. You just work now on a computer even longer times than they did, and they have even a harder job to do to create these visual effects. So the special effects industry is replaced by visual effects. The amount of work is even more insane than with special effects. The hours people spend to create visual effects is insane. I've been part of the 2012 movie production, and also a destruction movie. And I was part there, I was down there in LA for a month, and I could firsthand see how much hours, how intense the work is to create visual effects. So let me now show you our tool. what do we offer to the artists? What do we give them so that they can do visual effects? As I said, visual effects is still hard work. So the same like building this model we saw here as a real wood model, it's the same thing. You have to build it in a computer, and it doesn't build on its own. So you have to sit there and work hours and hours to make it look real. So the amount of time you spend is insane and really high. So what do? We create software that helps them to get things done faster. And our software helps artists to create what they want to do. And it makes it in a very efficient way. Let me just start this explanation. So visual effects, we have a visual effects software. So all you see here, the destruction stuff down here, that's done in the computer. All the fluid simulation, so liquids and all this kind of stuff, even these gooey, glibbery stuff, that's in a computer generated. That's an algorithm we developed that allows you to create these kind of viscoelastic materials. Then we have fluids. Hollywood loves blood and splatter and all this stuff, so you need to have this as well. So our software can do this. Here again we have viscoelastic stuff, and it's high viscosity fluids, so we can also simulate that. That's good for lava, that's good for honey, as we can see here. And when we see honey, there's something very interesting. So let me just stop this here. The honey coiling effect. Has anyone heard of a honey coiling effect? Or a ring coiling effect? That's what I thought. So that's a physically effect that happens in reality. When you have a very high viscous fluid and you let it drop down, it starts creating little coils or rings. That's a physical effect that happens in reality. And to simulate these kind of effects, you have to care about that, and you have to make sure it works. So this little jiggling here is a physical effect we had to recreate in our software and allow the artist to control it. The same for melting stuff, or if you want to do an effect like chocolate. So there's something, you see it's very shiny and then it hardens. Also this control, you have to give the artist the control when things harden, when things get dull. So now it gets dull, the shiny stuff is away. And then you have to give them the control to change it in an instant and do whatever they think they want to do. So these are the functions our software is able to provide to the artist. So now we free the artist to do whatever he wants. He can cover a skyscraper in chocolate if he wants. So there is no limit to that. And the same here. That's another viscoelastic thing. What we have here is a fluid, but it behaves like it's a rubber-like material. The great thing is, because it's still a fluid, we can make this back to a liquid if we want it. And as you can see, it sticks to each other, it creates new bonding, and all this has to be done in software. And when we go to Hollywood, smoke, fire, this kind of stuff is also very important. Our software supports these very thin fume effects, and you can give the smoke, for example, a light energy, so it can illuminate stuff. 3D artists. And there's not only land vehicles, we also have vehicles in water, and all these effects can also be created with our software. And then again, soft bodies are very famous objects or type of matter they want to have in Hollywood. Or interaction with every matter type you can imagine, where you have liquid metals, soft bodies, rigid bodies, and then you would end up with a Hollywood craziness where you want to have everything in large scale and everything should explode, interact with everything, and endless amount of objects. So that was a little bit a part of what our software, or what tools our software delivers to the artist. And let's say visual effects, special effects, who uses visual effects? I would say, and that's my observation, everyone uses it. You won't find any movie, film, whatever production Everything you see on television is no longer real or without visual effects. And let me just show you this interesting thing here. Here we have a TV production, Grey's Anatomy, and over there, movie. They do the same thing. They cheat. These guys, they don't sit in front of, in Seattle, they sit in front of a green screen. They are not in Seattle. They just sell it out to us. Here's the big explosion. They hold and have the heat and feel everything. No, there's nothing exploding. What do they want to tell us? So that's movie, TV. They all lie to us and they all use visual effects. They are all guilty of visual effects. So if someone tells you, no, this is all real camera stuff, no, it's not. So let me show you how our tools are used in TV. And this is from one studio, VFX. We know also very well, and they were so kind to give us their reel, where they used our tool, and they did a lot of TV productions in there. So the TV productions in there is from Powers, Luke Cage, Mr. Robot, and The Get Down. You will recognize maybe some other TV shows in there. Let me just start that and play this for you. So in everything that explodes and crumbles and creates destruction is using our tools there. Now the big question is, we saw all these crazy effects and now especially visual effects we've seen here, and how do we develop our software? So how do we come up with these crazy ideas to blow up stuff? I would like to torture you now a little bit so that you feel how it is to develop a software. So I will torture you now for 5 minutes. But it's okay, because Mr. Trump allowed me to torture other people. We all know that. He signed the bill. Torture is allowed now. So please bear with me. I'll tell you, after this torture you will see beautiful things again. But you have to understand how the process of creating these visual effects software works. So what we have here is my favorite. I did this sequence and I have nightmares still. And this bunny is a glass bunny with a fluid inside. So it's a very complicated thing and it gives you nightmares, I can tell you. So let's have a look. Let me start the torture. So the first thing we do is we simulate. So we have a fluid solver, we simulate it, and we say, it's okay, it looks okay, but the fluid level doesn't work. So, but it stabilizes. What you do is we do another test. So now we do a test with more fluid. So now we have more fluid, but the topples over. I don't want that. I hate it. Should not topple over, and all this fluid behavior is more like a connected gooey stuff. So you do another test. And in all between these tests, we adjust the solver. Now the splashes were beautiful, but my fluid is gone. Again, damn. What should we do? We do another test. So we have to wait to see, okay, how does it settle? Now we do another simulation test. So how does this go? Oh, that looks beautiful. I love that. Look at the swooshing rotation thing. That looks real. That's what I want. But still, our fluid level is way too low. There's loss of volume, and that's a big thing with fluid solvers. And we do another test. Rendering the animation, waiting until the fluid settles and all this. 580 on this single interaction between fluid and rigid body. So it's a lot of work. You don't get this kind of stuff for free. You have to really work to get these visual effects going. But I told you torture will only be 6 minutes. So let's move on to something different. We talked about Hollywood productions, movie productions, film productions. However, games is also big. The games industry is now nearly as big or even bigger than Hollywood. Individual AAA game titles, they make easy over $1 billion. And modern game productions, they are even more complex than Hollywood movie productions. And our software is used in titles, has been used, and will be used in future titles as well, because destruction and disaster in games is also very important. So, is it all a big game or what? Let's see how far the gaming industry has come. And I'm very proud to have some making of shots from an actual game, and they won an award for the best cinematic in a game ever. And the game is called For Honor, and it's really insane. It's amazing what they did with our software to create these cinematic in a game. So everything you see here is created with our software. These destruction, these little crumbling, and all these details. All the colorful things is the breaking points, and you can see they tested, and everything is procedurally, so it depends on the force you apply to these buildings, and they crumble and break in a natural manner. And the scale they are now using in games, or game trailers, is insane. And here's the testing. They wanted to have these trees lose their leaves so that it looks naturally, so they shoot everything they have. And they let this cube fall down, so they did all these tests. Ground interaction, gravel interaction is also very important. They did that with our software to get all these believable effects. And here you see the rough. So it always starts with a coarse model, and then it gets finer and finer until you have your final situation here. Style effects. So the next big thing is commercials. They use also visual effects now. I think there's no more a commercial on the market that does not use visual effects. And we have a collection of some commercials done with where our software tool was used. So same thing here, all the destruction with the wrecking ball was created with our software. All the debris falling around, and then the final shot in the advert. Same here, destruction of the Trojan horse, fire, debris. So commercials are also filled with visual effects like crazy. So in Hollywood, let's come back to Hollywood now, size matters. They always tell you, especially us guys, size doesn't matter. No, it's not true. Size matters. Always. And size means how many people create a movie, and size also means how many visual effects are in a movie. So, in the pretty famous movie Jurassic Park, that was 1993, guess how many special effects or visual effects did they use in this movie, in Jurassic Park? Anyone? Just tell me a number. How many visual effects are in Jurassic Park, the original?
328.
It's 50. There's only 50 visual effects in the original Jurassic Park. Why? Because there were no computers, there were no tools to do more. Guess how many are in a movie today? Is it 100, 500? What do you think?
One big one.
So in a modern movie, Hollywood movie, we're talking about big and Hollywood, there's about 2,000 visual effects in average, I would say, in a big blockbuster. How did they do it? And I'm really proud to show you this as well, because usually you don't see that very often, that they give you a making of, so that you can see what's real, what is the visual effect, and here you can see in the same sequences we just saw what was done in a computer. And the interesting thing is, when you talk about visual effects, there's a lot of people involved in making a Hollywood movie. And for San Andreas, the people involved making this movie, they were 2,050 people. 2,050 people involved in making this movie. And when we are talking about how many people are working on a movie, I found this little list or information about movies and how many people are involved in making this movie. You can see Iron Man, 3,310 people were involved in creating Iron Man. Avatar, 2,900. So that's a lot of people working on one project. And these people usually come from many companies around the globe, so everyone has to speak and talk the same language, or you will end up with a big mess of a movie. You don't want that. So this amount of people controlling all this process is really insanity, and it's controlled insanity down there in Hollywood. But the more interesting thing about these numbers is, let's take, who did the high score? Yeah, Avatar. So how many people from this 2,900 do you think were people sitting behind a PC, so the visual effects artists? How many of these 2,900 people were actually people sitting in an office doing visual effects and not moving at all except the mouse or whatever input device they have? I'll tell you, it's 1,844 of these 2,900 were visual effects artists. So that's more than half of the amount of people producing a Hollywood movie are now people sitting behind a PC. So nowadays, a Hollywood movie would not be possible without the hard-working artists behind the PC. And when I see how much work, how much inspiration, how much heart they put into each of the shot they get, because they are not doing the whole movie. Every artist is doing a bit. And all these little bits are created and done, assembled, and then you get your Hollywood movie. But it's really an insane amount of people working hard to create visual effects now and to create a movie. Leaves always the questions, it can't get bigger. We've already destroyed half of a continent. We have this stuff flying around and everything. So can it get bigger? And yes, it can. It's Hollywood. They can do more destruction than you can even think of. And that's Independence Day, the second movie. So I showed you the special effects, if you remember, from Independence Day, the first movie, where they built the White House with wood and painters and all this crazy process they had, the little spaceship models, the miniatures and all this. Now, in the second part, or sequel of the Independence Day, what they did is just unbelievable. Of time, so that's good, I think. I want to thank you for enduring my presentation here, including my talk. Thank you. And I'm also happy for any questions now. I'm happy to answer any kind of question you have.
I have a question. What was the movie that had the most visual effects?
That was an Indian movie with 4,500. It's a Bollywood movie. It has an Indian title, so I'm not able to pronounce it.
What's the rendering time?
Oh, that's a good question. So rendering means we create from the computer data, we create the final image as you see it on the screen. So the rendering time can vary with the scale and complexity of the scene. So there is scenes that render for one frame maybe 20 hours. So that would be 20, 30 hours for one frame. And that would be the extreme situations. And then you have, usually you do it in layers so that you can handle these scales. So, but you have also fluid simulations. So it's not only how long does it take until the image is there that I can actually see. The fluids need to be simulated as well. And sometimes the fluid simulation takes longer than the rendering, or very often it takes longer than rendering doing the fluid simulation. And it also takes more memory. So the amount of memory that is needed to store these simulations is huge. It's in the terabytes. There's a lot of things that are not real, where I would say, oh, no, this is bullshit, but I don't know how a normal audience would see that. I think they believe it's real, or could be real.
Could that be because there's so much out there like this now?
Yeah, that's maybe Hollywood, because everyone believes when a car topples over, it explodes like a nuclear bomb. So that's in our heads right now. If there's a car accident, we all think now it's going to blow up and we have this huge yellow fireball and we are all dead. In reality, you can tumble over a car and it won't burn or explode. You can sit there for days and it won't explode. So, yes, you're right. Hollywood tells us what is reality, even though most of the time it's not. Yeah.
If you were to create your own project as a team, what would it be like?
Yeah, I'm very simple in what I like in a movie, so I would have a planet, spaceship, and laser beams. So that's all I need to be excited about a movie. So if you don't give me these three components, planet, spaceship, and laser beams, it's not a good movie for me. But I don't think I'm the normal person here watching movies. But I need these three components and I love it. Actually, I also love the original Godzilla movies. So they don't have, they have planets and spaceships. So, and beams, laser beams. So, yeah, okay, that explains it. So I love Godzilla, yeah. So, okay. Any other questions?
So if I had these tools, I could make a movie?
And a few more people, yes. So you can create these sequences, but these sequences don't make a movie. You can create the crumbling of a building. Yes, you can do that with our software. But that doesn't make a movie. But it creates an important part of a movie as well. So yes, with our software you can go and explore the visual effects industry. Start doing stuff. Okay, I think I'm out of time. I have to send you home now. Thank you very much.